If the answer is not much, hopefully we're about to rectify that for you now. The $650 million eco-resort is slated for a 626-hectare farm near Kuranda. The project, from Macau-based developer Ken Lee, is so big it has been lodged with the Queensland Coordinator-General requesting a coordinated project status. Already, Kuranda locals have raised concerns about its potential environmental impacts. Stuart Ricketts and his company Urban Sync are involved with the project, and he joined me a little earlier today to respond to some of the concerns that have been raised.
Well, the KUR-World project is an integrated resort that's been proposed for 626 hectares of land just outside of Kuranda. The idea of having an integrated project, as you said before, Adam, is it's not about a casino. An integrated project's about having various elements to a resort, and in this case we're looking at things like education tourism, we're looking like medical tourism, and just recreation and activities associated with health and rejuvenation.
So the resort is obviously the biggest component, but there's also things like a golf course and university campus that you're looking to put there.
Yeah, absolutely. There is a golf course that's looked to basically be the centre of the area, and up in the northern section we're looking at a university campus that could house up to about 500 students once fully completed.
Is that going to be a partnership with the university?
I would expect so, yeah. Look, there are several people that we've already had conversations with, and there's also some education providers in China that have come out and had a quick look at the local area. I expect there'll probably be some sort of joint arrangement in terms of that, but definitely be looking to work with some of the local tertiary institutions.
Stuart Ricketts, how many people would this resort look to house?
Well, there's a two-part thing there. You'll be looking at the people that are coming to the resort and staying maybe 2 or 3 nights, visiting Kuranda, visiting some of the other local attractions. And then there's the idea of having some people that would live more permanently in and around Kuranda. And the site, they may commute to Cairns, they may live in the site and work in Reever. I expect we'll probably see something in the order of about 1,000 residents at full-time completion, and upwards of sort of 1,000 tourists that may be there if it was fully occupied.
And so that's residential as well as obviously the tourists that are coming to stay at the resort.
And also potentially day trippers. You know, at the moment we look at some of the numbers and we see that SkyRail's taking nearly 2 million people a year, and the Kuranda Rail is taking around 700,000 a year. They spend their time in Kuranda. There might be the opportunity for them to spend a night out at KUR-World and then catch the train or catch SkyRail back down in the morning.
This KUR-World project, it's probably one of the bigger ones we've heard about in the last couple of years for this part of the world. It's a very significant project, and hence why it's been lodged to try and get it made a coordinated project. What can you tell us about the coordinated project procedure and why that's something you've gone down?
The idea of going down the coordinated project really sort of reflects the fact that there's a lot of complex issues, and there's a number of approvals, both at the federal government level, the state government level, and at the local government level. There's also the idea that, you know, a project of this size probably doesn't respect local government boundaries. It probably has just as many impacts on Cairns as it does in the Reever Shire, and having the Coordinator-General's process there means that these can all be looked at in one assessment process. There
was some concerns within the community that the Coordinator project won't give them as much say, it won't give them as much input into the project.
Listen, the coordinated project is very complex and it can take some time. I know that your listeners probably know that the Aquas project's been through a coordinated project. The only other one I can think of locally would be Ella Bay. But, you know, once you've submitted an application, and we're at that stage now where we haven't actually been approved as a coordinated project, we're hopeful that we will be considered as a coordinated project. But once that's done, we go into almost a period of public consultation for the next 12 months, dealing around an environmental impact statement and how that is sort of structured. There's a terms of reference that goes out to the public. And I know that the proponents in this case are actually looking at doing some more targeted consultation with more local stakeholders, whether they're in the environmental sector or in the tourism industry or some of the other, maybe the Reever Chamber of Commerce or the like.
You're hearing from Stuart Ricketts from Urban Sync. We're talking about a big project slated for the Myola region of the Atherton Tablelands near Kuranda. Stuart, Ricketts, tell us more about the proponents.
The company that's putting this forward is a company by the name of Reever and Ocean. Reever and Ocean are the names of Mr. Kenley's children, which I think is really good. Mr. Lee has a background in marketing and in tourism resorts and those sort of things. He is an Australian citizen who currently lives in Macau, has been visiting and the Cairns area and looking up on the tablelands now for about 15 years. Purchased the property in early 2014. It's taken us this long to sort of really get our heads around all of the values that are available on the land, and if you go up there now, he's actually got some cows on there.
Stuart Ricketts, an eco-tourism resort. Why did you decide to go down that route?
We know why Kuranda is an attractive place. We know why tropical North Queensland is an attractive place. You'll see that when you look at under the name KUR-World, it says Great Barrier Reef. It's one of the things that people immediately associate with tropical North Queensland and with Cairns. Kuranda is very close to the reef, but it's also almost in the middle of the World Heritage Rainforest.
That obviously presents itself with a lot of challenges for you to get the project through environmentally. What do you expect to be some of the things that you're going to have to be really mindful of as you progress this project?
Yeah, look, environmental issues are going to be one of the greatest challenges, and we recognise that we're going to have to be very sensitive around that. I think that the biggest challenges to this project will likely be at the federal level. We know that we've got the Myola frog, which is a critically endangered frog. We've done a number of studies with JCU over the last 6 months, and we are aware of exactly where these frogs are and where they're not, and that information has helped us to inform the master plan. The other major issue will be water quality, I think. Any project of this size is going to have to be very carefully monitored, and that's one of the big challenges for us moving forward.
Did you foresee that there would be concerns within the community? Last week on ABC Far North, we heard some of those concerns on this program. Did you expect that we'd hear concerns about the environment and about community consultation?
Of course, yeah. We are very conscious of the fact that we're going to have to do a lot of community consultation over the next 12 to 18 months. But it's really important that we probably have a well-thought-through proposal so that we know what we're consulting about. There's been a lot of hard work going to the master plan over the last 12 months. There's been a lot of site investigations, and we're reasonably confident we're at a position now where we can put something on the table and start having that conversation and be in a position where we can start having some answers. You know, we're not going to have all the answers, but we have to start a conversation somewhere, and that's where we're at now. The
dam was another one that was raised the other day. People saying there's a retrospective application in for the dam that was built on the farm we're talking about. The environmental group say it was pretty poorly constructed and has had an impact on the local environment there. What's your response to that?
Okay, so at the end of last year, we looked at returning a lot of that property back to farmland. And I know Mr. Lee has got a pretty good interest in cattle, and he's been to the Reever sale yards. It was essentially just a farm dam, and I think I did listen to the program. There was a big rain event. We had sediment and erosion control in place, but it did go over the top. We looked to immediately rectify that, and I think within, 3 days it was cleaned up. It went about 100 metres down one of the gullies. We've learnt a lot from that now. We're going to take on board all of that as this assessment moves forward.
Jobs? How many jobs would it create?
During construction, that can fluctuate. I think during construction we are looking at a maximum of about 1,600 jobs over the construction period, with a peak of around 500 jobs in any 1 year. There are obviously flow-on employment that can flow to that, both in Cairns, Reever, Kuranda and associated areas. When the project is finished and complete in 2025, 2026, the estimates are that it could be between 550 and 600 jobs.
But when would you ideally like to start construction of it?
Well, construction is contingent upon getting all the approvals.
How long will the approval process take, do you reckon?
I'm hopeful that we will look at probably something in the order of 2 years. There's a lot of work to be done. There's a lot of technical work to be done. And then once we have that done, there's a lot of contracts and all of those things that flow onto that. Perhaps construction could start in 2018.
Obviously, there is concern within the community about the project, a bit of anxiety. What would your message be to people out there listening to this?
The message is that we're well aware of the fact that there's a certain sort of character that brings people to North Queensland, and that character is then further defined by Kuranda. We're going to be working with all the stakeholders to make sure that the project can proceed, but it can proceed in a way that most people can be supportive.